Good afternoon. Oh, we were supposed to figure that out. No, it won't give it to us. I want to say it's the 24th. We are on our way to Prineville to visit Rourke, a childhood friend, high school buddy. About 151 miles or 3 hours, it says. They're doing. And we are recording a video this time rather than capturing through YouTube. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm sure we'll have much more time to share together. Although it's like zoomed way in on my face. I don't know. I guess it's alright. Can't zoom in or out. Okay. Just left the fuel station. Getting Larry topped off. Well, yeah, topped off. Guy tried to overfill it. You know, when it clicks off automatically because it senses the fuel and then they pull the trigger some more. Yeah, there's a reason it does that. And there's systems within the car that are designed to operate at a certain level. The evaporative emissions system comes to mind initially. Getting fuel in the improper places can be a detriment to your automobile. I informed him of this and asked him to please obey the law. And he said, oh, what was it? Not beg to differ. Couldn't remember the exact phrase he used, but tried to convince me otherwise because he said he was a mechanic. Well, he said he worked on cars. And I said, likewise, buddy, I understand. Just going into that place was like suiting up for battle. It's probably a bit more of a tangent for somebody that rarely wears pants and only one article of clothing. I guess that's wrong, it's clothing, so it counts. But no shoes, no shirt, no service no longer applies. Now you gotta cover all your capillaries. Silliness. I was also debating on what to bring for the trip. Loading up my PA sound equipment. Always prepared for a party. Although I thought to myself, I really would like to have some spare room or space in case there's something I'd like to bring back. I envisioned large rocks or something. Although I determined I would rather have the option of the equipment. School bus, what up? Nice, with a canoe on top. Cheers. Than plan for potentially not having enough space, because that would be a fear of the lack of. And in thinking of it, I realized almost every situation I'm able to plan around. So either I would just re-Tetris the stuff in a different manner, since obviously there's plenty of space in here, and pardon, if it was that important, there are always alternative occasions. Also came to my mind of the fuel expenditure of carrying the extra weight and how I'm always traveling with quite an abundance, usually more than is necessary, but I guess it's all part of the experience. So necessity is a perspective. So I made sure Larry's fluids and other amenities such as the air pressure were topped off, as I've also learned in my study of mechanics that fuel or tire pressure, even being 3 psi under, can lead to 3% in loss of fuel economy, which doesn't seem like much, but accumulated over a span of time. I also thought of the wear and tear on the vehicle. If it's got more resistance rolling, not only will it be less efficient, but it will degrade more quickly. Wow. This conversation is reminiscing of the human body and the amount of resistance it carries can lead to efficiency and or detriment. I'm not sure if it's outwardly apparent when soft palate breathing is being practiced. I just had like a yawn, Brad. Currently. But I got like stuck in that position. It's kind of nice. My voice is reverberating when inside my head. Maybe just proper practice will prevail in that palate. But that led me to remember our talk on the Kundalini experience. And although I'm sure I'll revisit it again while it's fresh, I wanted to vocalize it. YouTube had ended our transmission just as I was in the middle of explaining the breath work, as it were, while I was experiencing this Kundalini episode. It was like a really deep, overwhelming sense of connection with my body or vessel. As I was breathing, I could feel it resonating throughout, and there was like a resistance or connection between the tension or physical feeling within my body and my breath. So I was holding this feeling, or it was holding me, and I could breathe out, but only to a degree before it kind of encouraged me to inhalate. And I could feel my body laxing or loosening. And currently, for lack of a better term, it keeps coming to me as resistance. Come on. Clipboard's having a conniption fit over here. And I could literally feel like an energy coming up from the root towards my crown, and it was ascending with the breath. And as I breathed into it, I could feel the different muscles surrounding it at a level that I had never grasped before, I guess. Because just saying, oh, I took a deep breath and relaxed, pretty much every time I take deep breaths, I notice either my shoulders or lungs, abdominals, to a degree, relax and settle in. But this was far deeper. Down to like the skeletal or structural layer, where I could feel different vertebrae releasing, as you would like if you're articulating or popping, cracking your joints. I could hear and feel, obviously, you weren't there. Not all at once, and not all of them in unison or together, collectively, but sporadically. So often I felt kind of a point depressurize and sink into space, so to speak. I really should be using the cruise control behind a toga. I think it's a tioga or tioga. It's really irrelevant, but for sake of accuracy, Tioga, tioga. So my view is of a beautiful white rectangle. Well, I see more of a square from here. There's pretty scenery around it. I digress. Cruise control, if you're unfamiliar with it, is a hugely beneficial addition to the vehicular experience, in that it allows you to focus your senses elsewhere. That usually will lead to distraction, although if you use it properly, it can lead to great efficiency in fuel and engine wear. That's kind of neat. Look at the power station here. I wonder if it's linked to a generator, an aquatic generator. I guess that's not the correct term for a dam, because they're not generating aqua. An electrical aquatic. This is as much for me as it is for you. Like I was saying, I felt pretty nauseous, as if I was going to expel what I had contained. I just nearly got to the bottom of my smoothie when this experience took hold. Like I said, I had just finished up partaking with Uncle Raj, which I have felt could be a contributor seeing as how the substance was not of our own, yet gifted by a friend. The process of operations was of the utmost, although I'm unsure of the cultivation practices, which are really fundamentally the most important. Turn this thing around so you can see. Nope. An interesting statement, that. So, I'm thinking that the $5 that I would have saved in leaving all my gear and equipment behind, I also brought a strung box, because I know Rourke likes to pluck, and I've been meaning to practice more so with somebody of experience. Oh, you may have seen the Tioga go by. Thanks, brother. There was a very short passing lane. He was polite enough to make use of it. Maybe this window here was masking my voice. We'll know better in the future. Possibly. I look forward to the day when I get to sit in a similar position and document my reality, traveling, surrounded by the giant yellowish orange rectangle Zen, the bus. Oh, it looks like a U-pick. Of the Kundalini story, and planning to finish, so to speak. Just working on remembering exactly if there was any sort of a crescendo or climactic ending. I know there wasn't anything ridiculously exciting, other than what I've described so far. It was just, the nauseous feeling went completely away. It was just like totally like a tuning, for lack of a better. I just sat there cross-legged, half lotus, I believe, and breathed into it. Almost always compelled, currently, to lift the soft palate and just kind of practice slow, deep incredible, actually. Like, not necessarily in a standard headspace, but almost like a harmonious or vibratory resonance, if you will. I was kind of just feeling through it, and am hearkening back now that there was almost some humming, not chanting, but some of the breaths, I know there's different. Hold on. Where there's different tones, sounds that go along with the chakras or energy centers. And while I was breathing and feeling it out, there was a intermittent, very low toned humming. Almost inaudible. Drive, no signal, well, no service provider other than myself or my own. Or is it the collective? Whoa, 22 minutes. No matter. Well, I feel like I've reasonably replicated the reminiscing. And on the way out, like I was saying, I wanted to leave space in case I was compelled to recover anything. And as I was leaving, Raj looked at me and said, "You know what to bring back, right?" Well, yeah, what's that, Raj? Deer horn. Deer horn, he says. And mountain mahogany. Excellent. I love just the index that he is of substances and materials. From his stories of making trips up to Alaska in a purchased Toyota to trade homegrown for different art parts and such as fossilized walrus ivory or mammoth tusks that have been found in permafrost to the indigenous or Eskimos, to just random tidbits of the deer horn are gonna be in people's garage and shops, and the mountain mahogany might have to drive for a bit. Not the scrangle or knotted pieces. You're going to want more straight sections, and either cut them down the center with a chainsaw and dip the ends in wax, or paint the ends. What? Just like the most not necessarily random information, but so pleasant to just, way in which I dissect literally, well, often words, experiences, thoughts, and the word trip, I think. Going on a trip isn't always the best thing. Usually you're falling when you trip. I really re-examine my thought process on that situation and my perspective for which I look at it. And I had somebody rebuttal, just because you trip doesn't mean you fall. Sometimes you catch yourself. That makes me think of the aforementioned or all told hero's journey, in which you go out to serve a purpose or fulfill a goal, and you travel and journey and come full circle to said situation or perspective. So, trip not always being, or not necessarily being, detrimental or beneficial. It almost always is what you make it. As though we have concluded, or should. Thank you any and all for joining us today. Beautiful old cars. I guess just the appreciation of the care and the intention going into something, that has lasted generations is just emotionally appealing. And we don't make use the phrase, we don't make things anymore that are just, for show and have all the cool lines like more antique or classic vehicles usually have. But I believe that to be, on some levels, also a false thought or statement, because we have plenty of visually appealing or propaganda or humans like to create and produce and consume. So that definitely leads to sometimes things being fulfilled in less than meaningful manners. All right. Much love all. Hoping your day is as beautiful as mine.